the storm. In a different yet connected place high above the land, where all living things understand they are connected. Clouds amassed on the horizon in mounting processions like tribes of warriors presenting themselves to be counted for battle. Waves of angry gray shadows mingled and darkened into billows that expanded over the land of salt water and thick trees. On a calm day in Passamaquoddy Bay, waves melodically rolled on top of one another, creating a soothing rhythm of energy that connected all families living with the land. Early and unwelcome winds from the south altered the measure, creating an anxious uneasiness in the air that was difficult to understand. Salty winds from the south collided with cold air lingering in the bay and churned the waters into swirling portals of blue that led to the wonders and dangers beneath. Building momentum from the cold waters below, the south winds ripped into the shoreline and penetrated the shield of trees lining the boundary of the land. Sounds of trees thrashing and snapping ricocheted off the rocks and eddied into sounds of waves crashing below. The new rhythm was erratic, disorganized, and announced the arrival of a disturbing and unfamiliar spirit. All families living with the land could tell stories of storms that tested their faith in the Creator to protect them. Something unfamiliar about the winds and energy from the storm that brought unrest and uneasiness to the land. Olona took a formidable and unsheltered red spruce tree on the Siptuk Peninsula shielded the peninsula from headwinds of storms as an early warning to the land. The towering giant is also home to the lookout nest built by the eagles for their sentinels. The silhouette of Olo, as he is affectionately nicknamed, stands as a beacon of security while his weathered and unearthed roots tell tales from legendary storms of the past, yielding unimaginable power and unrelenting force. Every branch on the tree, whether it held needles or not, lived on the bole with enduring persistence to fulfill their purpose to provide refuge to the eagles as they fulfill their duty as the protectors and guards of the land of salt water and thick trees. The land is defined by the watershed of the Siptuk River that empties into Passamaquoddy Bay and encompasses all the shoreline that connects these areas and the hundreds of islands across the archipelago. Boundaries of the land were defined by rugged cliffs on the archipelago side of the peninsula and the bountiful coves and inlets on the land side that can be described as havens of food and shelter from storms. Across the cove, the jagged shorelines reach up the rolling and vast red forest that burned over 100 years ago. The great fire cleared the land, scorched the soil, but spared Olo and his family. The towering and protective older siblings on the peninsula provided seeds to bring life back to the mainland. Olo and his family continued to provide a windbreak to shelter the younger trees until they have put down their roots to withstand the storms that invaded the cove. Across the bay, the Lackawanna River watershed that defined the western boundary of the land and etched pathways of life to every corner of the forest of peace before ending at the Great Mountain. The dense and lush vegetation of the understory provided refuge and food, and the canopy above offered protection to the living things that inhabited the forest of peace. Some of the trees, like quaking aspen, are connected by their roots with young trees carrying the same knowledge and wisdom of the original mother tree throughout the entire forest. There are many examples of this across the land where stories and legends are carried forward to help the animals, birds, fish, and humans survive the oftentimes harsh conditions Mother Earth presented. The culmination of these stories taught a lesson in balance and its importance to maintain the relationship between the living things and the land on which they survived. Imbalance in the land can lead to unnecessary conflict and destruction, while maintaining balance only required the observance of a simple set of principles and laws that are maintained by the Siptuk Fire Council. The vast territory of the land is governed by the council, who meet with the seasons at the base of Olo's trunk. The ancient red spruce towers over the archipelago that separates Passamaquoddy Bay and the Forest of Peace, has befriended many young eagle sentinels standing guard. There is an understanding and ever-evolving peace amongst the families that is reaffirmed with the seasons by gathering around the fire in the shadow of wisdom and knowledge provided by the crown of the old red spruce tree. It took over a century for Olo to put down the roots he needed to withstand the winds that shaped the land around him. As the oldest and most wise of the red spruce on the peninsula, Olo endured many of the storms that were captured in stories of bravery and legends of survival that were passed down around the fire from father to son and mother to daughter. He was a solemn witness to the celebrations in times of feast and the desperation in times of famine. He understood that for there to be peace in the land, there sometimes must be conflict to restore balance. For everything that appears to be beautiful, there will be something about it that is equally unappealing to maintain the balance of nature. Olo understands there is sometimes suffering in the land when the power structure between the families breaks and creates inequality amongst the animals, birds, fish, and humans. Olo shared the knowledge and wisdom from his 200-foot perspective with each eagle sentinel that perched in his branches. The old red spruce often found his stories created more questions than understanding,